I think our legs were painfully close to useless for about 3 days. Nice. A handful of stops south on the Nankai Electric Railway from the Dotonbori area, and up some sets of stairs that sent our quads screaming for new owners, we found our accommodation for the next 2 weeks. I slept tatami style, after Net called the only Western bedroom. I remember folding my futon in half in the darkness to accommodate my remarkable muscle pain. Good times. The kitchen and dining area were combined, with the classic space shuttle-esque modular Japanese bathroom immediately next to it. With peak Japanese summer outside, it was also the place to take off sweaty clothes in glorious AC. The guest house also had a quirk. It was atop a shuttered bar, likely one that had been primed to open in 2020. Alas. We were finally living the dream of having a Japanese apartment, something we'd talked about for over 10 years. There was rain and lightning at some point almost every day, but it didn't stop us from going out. Getting off the train at Nara, there's an unmistakable direction that most people are going, and it smells like deer. The route leads you to a promenade of sorts, a type of long street decreasingly lined with small shops that leads up to major temples. Historically, there might be pilgrims' inns or well-to-do homes. Today, souvenir shops. The main draw of this temple street are the deer, which are practically domesticated. They bow for specially formulated crackers and will go into your pockets to find more. Look out! There's no footage from inside the temple, because you're not supposed to film there. I'm law-abiding that way. I may have achieved enlightenment by crawling through a hole in a temple pillar while Net loudly told me I couldn't fit. Or maybe I didn't. Who knows? The Kansai Through-Pass tour continued the next day, which saw us take a train south into the mountains of Wakayama Prefecture to visit the famous Buddhist cemetery at Koyasan. After a picturesque train ride through orchard-packed Wakayama, we were a funicular ride away from the village of Koya, where we'd be back on foot. The rain sifted through the cedar trees as we made our way towards the resting place of Kukai. We're not Buddhists, which begs the question, why did they go to the trouble of visiting a Buddhist cemetery? It's an old place. The gravestones date back more than 1200 years, and it's been carefully maintained since before the Norman conquest of England, since the classic period of the Mayan civilization. It's called Okunoin. Kukai, also known as Kobo Daishi, continues to be important to Japanese Buddhists. Some say he's actually still alive in the inner sanctum of his temple here, which would make him almost 1300 years old. Some legends attribute the creation of the Japanese writing system directly to him. At one point, visitors can look down a well just off the main path. If you can see your reflection, you'll have a long life. But if you can't, you're gonna die within 3 years. Thankfully, I had my glasses on that day. There's a final bridge on the approach to the sanctuary, past which you can't eat, drink, or practice any kind of photography. That didn't stop some from doing all of the above, but despite my laissez-faire approach to divinity, I followed the rules. Maybe we were still looking for the piece that eluded us in the ascent and descent of Mount Fuji. Even if you can't find it in the appreciation of temples, the cedar trees might do it for you. Many of them predate Columbus's journey and already towered at the start of the Industrial Revolution. I can promise you, I wasn't thinking about work as I walked towards the well of potential death either. Maybe Kukai is alive after all. We can't prove he isn't, really. Staying in Osaka was really about enjoying life in Japan without a frenetic pace. You enjoy the rainstorm of the day, and then you hop on the subway off to the next town. It's fabulous. It's a struggle to remember exactly how each day was spent, other than in a state of sweating outside or in the loving arms of the AC inside. By total number of minutes spent, the top activity might have been listening to cicadas. By this point on the trip, it was impossible to ignore the degree to which we'd left real life behind. It wasn't 100% free time, we were still making bookings for later on in the trip, which was an incredible time sink, but it was pretty close to it. This gave us the ability to take in some classic Japanese cultural activities. More cultured by the minute! Our last great Kansai train ride destination was Himeji to see the famous castle. You can see Himeji Castle the instant you get out of the train station. It does loom somewhat like a white heron, and we made our way through the heat towards the main keep. After dodging some giant hornets and putting our shoes in some bags, we sweatily slunk into the castle's interior. The thing that surprised me the most was how amazing the place smelled. It is mostly cypress and cedar, after all, and how much the breeze increased when we got a few floors up. It'd be crazy to say the daily heat didn't impact the weeks in Osaka, but we survived it. You simply adjust and scuttle towards shade when you can. Oh, and remember to clean your sweat rag. Now, we headed west for a first visit to the beautiful city of Hiroshima. More history, food, and references to being too hot next time. Join us, won't you?